Hey everybody, we're live, and it's been a heck of a first weekend of football that really started Thursday with the Philadelphia Eagles playing against the Philadelphia Eagles opening against, uh, the common rival in in the way of a team that they always seem to have some interesting battles with. And they always seem to turn out in funny ways. Uh, and that has to be said for the Eagles' win against the Dallas Cowboys. Now, a lot of you poked fun at me because I said the Cowboys are going to blow out the Eagles. And yeah, I said that. Now, let me explain why I said it. I said it because I have long observed that whenever a team hires a new head coach and a new offensive coordinator, and hold on a second. Um, at any rate, whenever a team, hey, how you all doing? Whenever a team hires a new offensive coordinator and a new head coach, they have a new book. A new book. I call a book a data collection process where opposing organizations have literally an output of computer information on their computers about tendencies. And they can dial those tendencies up, having their assistants do it in seconds. And that forms the basis of their game plan. And they look at the schemes that the opponent runs and so on. Well, if you don't have a great analysis team, or if the team is doing something so completely different it catches you off guard, that team can rattle off a bunch of wins. That happened to the Atlanta Falcons when they hired Dan Quinn as head coach, if you remember. And this goes back 10 years. Dan Quinn's offensive coordinator was Kyle Shanahan. They ticketed off six straight wins. Excuse me, five straight wins. A number of people had them pegged to go to the playoffs. Some had them pegged to go to the Super Bowl, which didn't happen that year. It eventually did, actually the next year. But what happened that year really changed how I look at football uh, forever. The minute they didn't rush, hey, how you doing, Jesus? Uh, yes, that's right. Hold that thought, Jesus, about the Raiders. You're absolutely right. But what I'm saying is, the minute the Falcons rattled off those five games, they actually didn't change up their playbook. They ran the same plays, and what happened? Teams clamped down on them with tight man, and they wound up going from 5-0 to they finished the season a very disappointing 8-8. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. So fast forward to this time, and Brian Schottenheimer comes as offensive coordinator, and then Keelan Ashby, excuse me, is his Brian Schottenheimer comes as head coach. Keelan Ashby comes in as offensive coordinator for the Cowboys. Brian Schottenheimer, as much as I love his dad, and I say that because his dad was the coach of the Kansas City Chiefs when I covered a Raiders game while working for the Montclarian. This goes way back, as they say, to 1995. And Mr. Schottenheimer, Coach Schottenheimer, was kind enough. They had, uh, unlike Mike Shanahan, who coached the Broncos that same year, was kind enough to tell me to wait. He said, "Wait for me. I've got to take a shower." And he sat down with me, and he spent a good 20 minutes with me. If you think about it, for anybody to do that is a substantial amount of time, but for a head coach to do that after a game is something else. It was one of the best football media times of my life, and I have nothing but love and respect for the man who's since left us, and that's Monty Schottenheimer. Haven't had the pleasure of meeting his son, but I've always wished him well. Unfortunately, though, Brian Schottenheimer, the son, has never been known for explosive offense. He has been known for ball control, which, is doesn't place him far away from his father, right? So, but with the Cowboys, there were different. opportunities that they had to break the game wide open and actually take the lead against the Eagles. And they had to do with CeeDee Lamb. Now I look at what happened with CeeDee Lamb entirely different. I don't see it as CeeDee dropping the passes. I see it as CeeDee Lamb being asked to run patterns that didn't place him in the right position to make the catch. Like, let's take the one over the middle, okay? The quarterback, Dak Prescott, threw right over his shoulder this way and slightly underthrown, and it hit him almost in the back. Whereas it should have been more of a post pattern where he literally runs into the ball as it's thrown and then scores the touchdown if you're going to attack a two deep. There's a lot of attacking two deep safeties, and the coaches send the receivers straight up the middle without thought of how they want whether or not if that person's in the right position to catch the ball, right? There were a lot of times during that contest where the Cowboys were making mistakes like that, and it was just infuriating to watch. It really was. The Cowboys' running game actually performed better than I thought it would, and they had some really neat schemes for the running game. It's the passing game that needs work. And so I'm telling you, if the passing game worked the way I believed it should have worked, that game would have been a blowout. But it wasn't, and so I take it on the chin, and I was wrong. Fine. Now, let's talk then about the Bills beating the Ravens, which makes me so sick to my stomach that my stomach is still sick as I talk to you right now, but it's not going to last. And it makes me sick to my stomach because, well, huge Lamar Jackson fan, respect the heck out of what Josh Allen has achieved, and Sean McDermott and that staff, and they're a great organization. I had the pleasure of meeting Terry Pagula, the owner, and his wife. They're a very nice couple. I met them at the Atlanta NFL owners meeting 3 years ago in Buckhead. Very nice people. All right, but this is about, who you like and that sort of thing. And it's also about covering the league in a way that's fair. I really have to say that the Ravens' battle is psychological. As much as I hate to admit it, I don't believe the Ravens believe they should win these games against the Bills. How do you explain these wild outcomes? Think about the tight end, right? It was Mr. Andrews, the tight end. Remember during the playoffs where the Ravens had the 4th down and 2, and Andrews dropped the ball, and whether Nyson was the Ravens' game to win. That was against the Bills, all right? And so you're thinking, my God, what is going on here? Had they won that contest, it would have been a rematch between the Ravens and the Chiefs for the right to go to the Super Bowl. Instead, it was the Chiefs and the Bills, and we know how that turned out. So, but it's something in the Ravens, I think, is getting in their head where they have to do something to lose. So if it's not that, then this game, it's the improbable. You never think in a million years that Derrick Henry would fumble the ball, let alone in his own team's territory. I think about that, and it's like, oh, you got to be kidding me, man. He actually did that, and yeah, he actually did do it, okay? So just when you think you have everything wrapped up schematically, in other words, your play is working better than theirs, just when you think you have everything wrapped up in terms of statistics, you're making more yards than the other team, there's that audience, the crowd that doesn't want you to win. They hate your guts. This kid, blonde-haired kid, is hitting Lamar Jackson on the back and all that. Lamar did something that I think spiritually went against the Ravens. What was that he did? He hit the kid. He pushed the kid right back in there. Now you would say the kid shouldn't have, been over messing with him. My argument is the security guards should have been there. Where were the security guards, right? But Lamar took matters into his own hands, and I think spiritually he shouldn't have done that, because after that point is when things started to fall apart. I'm just saying, okay? There are things you do spiritually and the things you don't spiritually, and those are the one things you don't spiritually. And the one things you don't do spiritually is you don't touch kids. He did that. And so it was just an absolute bizarre, weird, oh so Buffalo outcome. Boom. And we had it. Now, in all this context, let's talk about the Raiders, all right? And to talk about them first, let me read the recap uh, that is here, just to so help me frame my own thoughts in the context we're about to read. Geno Smith passes for 362 yards and a touchdown in a Raiders debut at Las Vegas, you should read, thwarts Patriots 20-13. And so it goes, Fox, this is by Associated Press. Foxborough, with his team leading by 10 points and facing a long third down late in the fourth quarter, Las Vegas Raiders quarterback Geno Smith was calm. Find a way to pick up a first down and eat some clock, and the Patriots would be left in desperation mode, but a 3-and-out could give New England new life. Quote, these situations, game on the line. I love the ball in my hands, Geno Smith said. That's what I live for. He showed why, tossing a 36-yard touchdown pass to Dante Thornton, one of the fastest people in the NFL Combine, I might add, that helped the Raiders run the clock under 2 minutes and put the game away. Smith finished with 362 yards and a touchdown in his Raiders debut, while rookie Ashton Genty rushed for his first touchdown, and Las Vegas rallied to beat the Patriots 20-13 in their season opener today, Sunday. Tight end Brock Bowers had 5 catches for 103 yards before leaving with a knee injury. Jacoby Myers added 8 catches for 97 yards, and the great Max Crosby and Malcolm Kuntz also added sacks to help Pete Carroll get his first victory, okay? You know what I loved about this game? I love the fact that the Raiders defense exposed Drake May for who he really is. I have never been high on Drake May as a pick as high as he was taken in the first round. And he was coddled, and then word got out that his family was making demands on the Patriots to do this and that for him, to treat him a certain way. That wound up in Sports Illustrated, I might add. And it didn't make him look like the most endearing person. Now, I have to say, on a personal level, I like Drake May. Why? Because he's a big aw shucks guy you want to be friends with, who will answer your questions, who just seems to have this kind of relaxed look about things. He's the kind of guy that you'd figure would meet the love of his life and marry her, and that's precisely what he did. He's the kind of guy you'd think would have a big, huge wedding with a lot of fun, with all of his buddies who, who from football, and they come and they're basically behind his back. That's the way it should be. That's Drake May's life. Fantastic. But it doesn't mean that everything has to be handed to him on a silver platter as he's coming in. And yet that's what's happened. The reality is, look, Drake May needs more, if you're going to start him, okay, more short passes, more quick passes. You can't sit back there and let him get throttled and hammered, because he's going to throw an interception or fumble the football, and that's what happened in the Mike Rabel coached era. And the Raiders exposed that, all right? The Raiders exposed that. But what I love is that the Raiders have the attitude of Pete Carroll. And I've had the pleasure of interviewing Pete Carroll. You can see it right here on Zenny 62. You know what I love about Pete Carroll? Ma, you know what I love about Pete Carroll? I'll tell you. Pete Carroll looks at you. He looks at you right in the eye. There's a whole room full of people, in this case media. They're going back and forth, trying to interview different people. You got people at the table sitting with you, and you're thinking, okay, how much time do I have with him? Everything else, right? Pete Carroll pays such tight, concentrated attention to you that you forget time. Time stops. It literally feels like it's just you and him talking. There's nobody else around, and he's engaging you as if you're part of his family. And if that's the way he is with everybody else, and I've read that he is after I've experienced it, then it's no wonder he's been such a great coach for so long, and why he got the win here, and why I said that the Raiders are going to the Super Bowl this year. And I said that when Pete Carroll was hired. Pete Carroll has this magic way of making you connect. And understanding who you are, making you feel special, and so you want to in turn do right by him. That's a cool thing. All right, it's an intangible that people don't talk about much at all, but Pete Carroll has it, and he's going to get the best out of his players. He's going to get the best out of Chip Kelly, and I'll get to that in a second because I wasn't happy with what I saw, from Coach Kelly in that regard. Okay, and what I mean by that not being, happy, is that I wasn't happy with how Coach Carroll handled the running game. Excuse me, how Coach, not Carroll, but Chip Kelly handled the running game. When you have a person like Ashton Genty, you've got to recognize that, first of all, yeah, they're a speed guy, but they're not such a power guy that you want to give them the ball in the eye. I know he did it in college, but this is a different story, okay? You want to give him the ball on quick pitches around the ends and help him pick up those yards by formation design. But don't put him in the I formation, 7 yards back, and then think that he's going to consistently take this pounding and get these yards all the time, because he's not sized to do that. He is not literally a Derrick Henry. All right. So I don't think you should try to make him a Derrick Henry. I think you should make him more of an Ashton Genty. And they are doing this, throwing to him out of the backfield. All right. But they need more Texas routes. I didn't see any. They need a number of routes that you would commonly see in the offense of the San Francisco 49ers, and Bill Walsh was the head coach. Okay. I didn't see that. But again, you would say, Zinni, it's just the first game. I know. But guess what, folks? I still don't expect to see it. I still don't. And I think the Raiders would do well to copy some of what Cliff Kingsbury is doing in Washington with the Commanders and their runs and everything else. Like I'm watching right now, their number 22, Jacare Crockett, scored on a sweep. The Raiders don't have that kind of play in their repertoire under Coach Kelly, and yet it worked beautifully with Ashton Genty. All right, I can go on and on and on and on about this. The Raiders' defense keyed the win, though. And what do we say? We say offense sells tickets, but defense does what? Defense wins championships, okay? And I'm also watching right now. I've got the Commanders 14 versus the Giants 6. This is 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And very disappointed with the Giants outing. First of all, I think Jameis Winston ought to be the quarterback for the Giants. Russell Wilson, great guy, leader, but he's got not one, but 2 Super Bowl rings. Arguably should have had a 4th against the Patriots. But hey, look, they didn't give it to Marshawn to score a touchdown, and we know what happened after that, right? Oh, boy. Oh, now we got Dayball. Listen to this.
I think what you do with your backup quarterback and your third quarterback is make sure you have enough packages in, is that if they go in the game, that is stuff that they feel comfortable with. So we'll see where we're at. Again, just overall, not, there's not good enough.
No, of course it's not good enough. Let's go back on that and hear what he has to say about that, because we're talking about the anemic Giants offense after getting great quarterbacks and everything else. Okay? And Russell Wilson was, look, the Giants threw 37 times, and they just got 168 yards? They connected on 17 of that? Give me a break. Daniels threw 30 times, connected on 19 for 233. They got more output from their passing game. Just says the Raiders need to focus against the Chargers and find out how the way to beat the Chargers. I'll tell you the way to beat the Chargers. The way to beat the Chargers is by forcing the Chargers to throw long. Yeah, that's right. Play short man for man, right? And then deep zone, so that and so that the split end winds up being double covered if you have a cornerback on him when he's going deep, because you have in the corner as safety. Or if he's running crossing patterns. And that's particularly important because the Chargers love to run those wide receiver crossing patterns or the deep dig, right? So you've got to also make sure that you're getting pressure up the middle with your nose tackle. If you're going to run a type of front that has a nose tackle, those are the primary ways I believe you stop the Chargers offensively. But they don't have a large repertoire of plays, and I want to clamp them down man for man because they're going to try to throw those wide receivers screens once in a while. Snuff them out. All right, snuff them out. Make them wish they never saw them. Put yourself in a position where your quarterbacks can intercept them. That's how you stop the Chargers. All right, that's how you stop the Chargers. Now, getting back to the Giants. That was an awful, awful, awful performance. And I think if they think they're going to get anything better by putting Dart in over Jameis Winston, they're wrong. Jameis Winston has the most experience. He's played in the most systems. And he just has this je ne sais quoi where people want to play for him. Some coaches get intimidated by that, so they leave him where he is right now. Jameis Winston is third string. Think about that. Russell Wilson is one. Jackson Dart, who they just drafted, is the second. And then Jameis is number 3. That's ridiculous. All right. And I know Jameis folks are really upset about that, as well they should be, and other Winston fans. But ultimately, the Giants are going to pay for that, and they've already paid it by anemic offensive performance. Everybody in the world knows it. So they're like, hey, what are you doing? Will Dart make a difference for them? I think Dart will make as many mistakes as he makes a difference. I believe Jameis is seasoned enough to not make the errors he's made in the past, but also because Brian Daboll runs a better short passing game and a ball control passing game that Winston has thrived in on the few times in his career. Twice he's been it. This is only the second time, folks. The first time was with Sean Payton when Sean Payton was coaching the New Orleans Saints. I think he knew, right? The New Orleans Saints in 2021. Jameis Winston was 14 touchdowns and just 3 interceptions that year. He played for 7 games until he was struck down, if you will, by a bounty hunt, I allege, that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers took out against him for allowing himself to be traded to their arch enemy, the New Orleans Saints. Yeah, you can take that to the bank. All right. Now, let's get back to the Raiders. The Raiders, I want to see do well, not just because the Raiders are the Raiders, but also because Las Vegas needs it. Las Vegas is suffering because not enough people visit. Las Vegas is suffering because a significant number of people who work for the federal government and live in Las Vegas were laid off by the Trump administration for no reason other than the Trump administration being, well, Las Vegas needs visitors. And what draws visitors better than an NFL winning team and its rivals like the Chiefs and the Giants and the Chargers and the other teams of the AFC to begin with, like the Jets and others? Well, you get the idea, okay? So it's really imperative and important that the Raiders win. And I believe they are on a mission to make the people of Las Vegas happy and bring a Super Bowl champion to Las Vegas. I really believe that. So I'm going to form more thoughts about the Raiders. It's 1:04 now, but I'll be back earlier tomorrow. I want to thank everybody. Next time I'll go for about an hour tomorrow in the late afternoon. But I want to thank everybody for watching, and I want to thank you for your questions, Jesus. And we're going to start a membership club very, very, very soon. Subscribe to Zenny62, but make sure you bookmark this website I'm very proud of. Jesus, go Raiders, says Jesus. Jesus, I say go Raiders. Bookmark, please. NFL News by Zenny62.com. Here it is, right here. And I'm going to talk more later about this. I have to say, as much as I didn't like the outcome, the Ravens-Bills Sunday night football game was one of the best NFL games I've ever seen. I mean, I would never have believed this outcome, if you told me it was going to happen exactly the way that it'll happen, I would say you're smoking something. All right. But we'll talk about it another time. Thank you so much. And please bookmark our beautiful Zenny 62 Media website. We're also looking for investors and team owners. Zenny NFL News by Zenny62.com. And if you need reputation management help, getting bothered by artificial intelligence bots, maybe people are writing things about you don't like, social media is giving you there, hire Zenny62media.com. Check out our website right here. I love the logo by Eva Crawford. Thank you, Eva, yet again. Let us tell your story. That's our motto. Let us tell your story. And we do everything from press release writing and distribution to full-blown online reputation management. We have a fixed fee structure. You pay it once, and we go until we hunt down the problem, and we monitor it for the rest of beyond the period that we're hired for changes, but only for that keyword. In other words, if somebody else does something else to you, they write something else, well, that's a new assignment, that's a new project, and so therefore it's a new payment. But we always succeed, and I'm proud to say we have a lot of very, very happy customers, and we are hungry for more. All right. Thanks, everybody, and thank you, Jesus. Very kind of you. And again, I say, go Raiders, and good night. That ends this stream.